Hey, good morning, everyone. All right, today I'm pretty focused. We're going to go through this as quickly as possible. I want to make sure that you understand today exactly what's going on in terms of what it is that's happening in your life that's making it harder than it has to be because you're over 40. And I'm going to say this goes from 40 to about 55, 57 or so. Basically, what I want you to remember is the exact same thing that you've been rewarded for your entire life, that you've grown yourself with in terms of your skills, your capacities, the way you view life. This is the thing that's keeping you from what you need to be developing in this season of life. And so, what you're going to want to do if you want to understand the different seasons is go back to the first video in this live series, which was about what's going on in your 40s to about mid 50s that is related to you developing for this particular season. And I cover the different seasons pretty quickly across from your early 40s, mid 40s, late 40s, right across your 50s and into your late 50s. But what I did not cover was what happens in terms of soul growth at that time. I was doing this a lot yesterday, I noticed in my videos. What I want to make sure that I convey to you today is that even though we have a trajectory for development, the development is specific. And that comes from your nodes, your north nodes in astrology, north node and south node in astrology. Now, you do not have to understand astrology, but it does help you because it gives you a clue into what it is that you need to be developing now. And generally, when you can take a look at your nodes, you can see pretty easily, especially by the time you're 40, you can see the pattern of the life you've lived so far that gets you the success and accomplishments and satisfaction and what people see you as gifted at. And that's your south node. What you're here to develop going forward is your north node. And your north node is more uncomfortable to lean into because it's quite literally the opposite of what you've been doing. And one of the reasons that this is really important for me to share with you is because it's part of what makes midlife hard. And almost intentionally so from a soul design. The idea is, let me help you build confidence in who you are. I'm translating it into my language. Let me help you build confidence, become successful at something. But at some point, you need to stop relying on the things that are easy, and you need to develop into these qualities that are inherently who you are. And I want you to grow through. It's sort of what your soul is saying. And so the more that you lean into what you've been accomplished at, the less likely you are to feel aligned in your life. The less likely you're going to feel in terms of making solid and strong decisions for yourself in relationships, solid and strong decisions about your kids, solid and strong decisions in your business. And for what I'm seeing with a lot of women who are entrepreneurs who've been building their own business, they can have a significant measure of success multiple times over from the time they're 20 all the way until their late 30s. They've had a really significant success because you can nowadays with the internet. I know many women who've built followings, who've built businesses, who've built plenty of money for themselves. But as you slip into your 40s, you're being asked to reorient your life completely. And in this case, you're being asked to reorient your life to your north node, to your soul's path, to your soul's desired growth in this lifetime. Whatever language you want to pick, it's essentially, this is the growth. I can show you the growth curve. So let me give you an example. In my chart, my north node sits in Aries in the 12th house. And so just to give you an example, Aries, when Aries is in the 12th house, I'm going to have to put my glasses on to read this to you because when Aries is in the 12th house, that means the north node is in the 12th house in Aries. And my south node is exactly opposite that, which puts it in Libra. For those of you who don't know a lot of astrology, you this goes beyond your sun sign. So this has nothing to do with I was born in December, so I'm a Capricorn. It has nothing to do with the ascendant. It's a completely different sign in your chart. And I'm happy to read this for you, which is what I do. But you can also look it up if you pull up your astrology chart. So wherever you see your north node, just look completely opposite, directly opposite. You will find your south node. Sometimes they don't show it in a chart. It doesn't matter. You want to see directly opposite. So for me, my south node is Libra. And in Libra, especially in the house that is in, for me, it shows up as diplomacy, collaboration, fairness, the ability to see all sides and build harmony. And this is how it can get more specific. It sits in my house of service and daily work, which makes me really great at being the person who can read the room, read the family, read the business, read whatever, and become what is needed in that space to keep the peace, to keep everything flowing. That is what I'm really good at. So I want you to understand this, because when you take a look at the north node, which is what I'm being asked to develop by the time I start into my 40s, let's start developing this skill. It is to be bold and an independent thinker, to trust my instincts, to lead without waiting for consensus, and claiming a self-defined identity, not blending into the collective, not collaborating, not trying to make sure everyone's happy. And for me, those things are so diametrically opposed that as I lived through my 40s, I tried harder and harder to be more diplomatic, more understanding, more caring, more of a coordinator. And I completely had no idea that part of this was to be outspoken, stand by what I wanted, not budge a second, claim who I was. That felt completely opposite of what I would need to do to create a nourishing relationship or a healthy, happy family. Definitely didn't feel like what I thought was good to do in a business either. So now that I've learned this, I want to be able to share this with you. And so what I want to do is, if you listen to this video and you want to receive your own, like a chart that says, here's an example of all the north nodes and all the south nodes and how they show up so that you can see what your north node is about, send me a message, comment on the video, or drop by my Substack. I would love to answer that question for you. So I want to make sure that there's nothing I missed in terms of this video. Okay, there's one other piece that I want to mention that's really significant for our 40s and really hits hard right about 50. And that's knowing what your Chiron is. And Chiron in your chart is the sign that's like a little K with a key, and a key. Chiron represents the wound we came into this lifetime with. And again, when you're taking a look at astrology, if you look at it from the perspective of this is sort of a map my soul gave me to work with, to give me some guideposts, Chiron is here to show you this is your core wound. Often we can talk about it as our inner child wound. For me, this has to do with being alone, and it's simplistically put. And so the idea is that during your 40s, as you're developing your skills with your north node, you're also gaining the strength to understand how to navigate your wound. And as you gain that strength and gain greater confidence in yourself and do your own work, which we all do, then you'll hit your 50s when your Chiron comes back around to where it was when you were born. And at that point in time, you really want to be able to transition from seeing it as a wound to seeing it as your strength. And so these two themes are playing out in midlife, making life feel pretty hard. It's requiring you to step up in ways you haven't before. It's requiring you to delve into fears you haven't had to deal with before. But when you know that that's what you're doing, you can get support and put it into a trajectory for growth. So it doesn't have to be hard or get harder. It can be something you choose to address that becomes a strength and gives you meaning for the path you want to walk, meaning for the life you want to have. So if this sounds interesting to you, I really want to encourage you to take a look at the work that I do with Soul Arc, the Soul Arc Intensive and the Soul Arc Healing. I do a plain session on this that really outlines exactly what's going on at this time for you, specifically through the lens of your chart, but also through the intuitive read that I do for you, and where you want to lean into the growth that you need or the perspective you need for this time. All right, it's been a pleasure to share this with you. Be sure and message me or comment below if you would like the North Node chart. All right, take care. We'll see you all.